The drama surrounding Angel Reese has finally boiled over. One interview, one line in the Chicago Tribune, and suddenly the player who wanted Chicago rebuilt around her is staring down a franchise wondering if it needs to rebuild without her. "I'm not settling for the same we did this year," she said. "We have to get good players. We have to get great players. That's a non-negotiable for me. We can't settle for what we have this year." It didn't land like leadership. It landed like an ultimatum. The kind that echoes through hallways, not huddles. Word traveled fast. Teammates saw it. Veterans around the league saw it. A sit-down had to be organized just to address the fallout. That's not chemistry. That's crisis management. And in a locker room already stretched thin by losses and scrutiny, the blast radius kept widening. The most cutting shrapnel hit Courtney Vandersloot, out for the season with an ACL tear, a champion and elite floor general with a resume most players dream about, reduced to a line about age and reliability. "We can't rely on Courtney to come back at that age," Reese said, before insisting the Sky needed someone younger, someone who had done it before. The irony would be funny if it weren't so bleak. Vandersloot has done it before. Over and over. Here's the twist that turned confidence into contradiction. Chicago had already bent the franchise around Reese. They moved heaven and a future to get her help, trading away Sonia Citron, a Rookie of the Year contender who became an all-star, to bring in Ariel Atkins. It was the kind of high-stakes, win-now swing stars publicly beg for and front offices rarely make. Gratitude never came. "Overhaul this roster," Reese pressed. The message was clear. It's not me. It's them. But when the film rolls and the box score hardens, a different picture forms. The franchise player leading the league in turnovers despite missing weeks. Layups clanging, possessions dying in her hands, and the discipline problems. Jawing at refs until the 8th technical foul triggered an automatic suspension, right before a circled showdown with the Fever. The clip is there, on a rebound striking Aaliyah Edwards across the head. Intent or not, the whistle blew. The rulebook spoke and Reese sat, not hurt, not resting, suspended. That's not a blip, that's a pattern. The kind that forces coaches into pre-game contingencies and leaves teammates explaining a distraction they didn't create. And the strangest part? Chicago often looked freer without her. The ball popped. The defense tightened. Wins arrived. It's the star paradox no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes subtraction adds up. Meanwhile, the words kept ricocheting. Younger teammates felt the shade. Veterans felt the disrespect. A team meeting followed, not to build a plan, but to pick up the pieces of a quote. "That's not how you attract the best of the best. That's how you clear a room." The contrast writes itself because there's another young star on a different stage doing the opposite. Caitlin Clark entered a hurricane and chose calm. The most scrutinized rookie in league history, every minute in a magnifying glass, and when injury sidelined her, she still traveled. Sat with her team, cheered in street. Close. She praised Reese publicly after a big night instead of poking the rivalry the league tried to sell. In Indiana, Clark's presence widened the floor, sharpened Aaliyah Boston, empowered Kelsey Mitchell, steadied Lexi Hull, and fit perfectly with Sophie Cunningham. She didn't just score, she organized, she led, she made the whole unit function, and when Clark couldn't play, she still showed up. Reese, during her absence, didn't travel to Indianapolis for a Fever Sky clash the league had been marketing for weeks. Focused on rehab, the explanation went. Maybe so, but optics matter when you're calling for a roster gutting. Presence matters when you've just told the world your teammates aren't enough. Chicago's front office feels that pressure from both directions now. They gambled on Reese and doubled down. The return? A season of turbulence, a suspension, at the worst possible time, and a headline that forced an emergency meeting. On the other side, Indiana has become the league's pulse. Attendance records, national TV, a culture built on professionalism, not pronouncements. A coach preaching connection and getting it every night. They pull for each other. They celebrate one another, Stephanie White said. That stuff alone is good for 10 to 12 points a game. It shows. None of this erases the numbers Reese can put up on a clean night: mid-teen scoring, double-digit boards, the flashes that made her a phenomenon. But numbers without context can lie. 101 turnovers in 26 games, the techs, the missed bunnies, the timing of it all. If you're going to demand great players, you have to be one in more than spurts. You have to be reliable. You have to be the calm, not the storm. And that's the quiet truth circling in Chicago right now. The overhaul Reese demanded? It may start with the mirror. Because after the quotes and the giveaways and the one-game ban, after the team played cleaner without her and veterans bristled at being tossed aside, the conversation inside a front office turns practical. Can you build around a player who calls for an upgrade at every position but her own? Can you sell elite free agents on a locker room that just had to hold a meeting over one interview? Can you sell a fan base on next year when last year's promises aged in weeks? Reese wanted the Sky to stop settling. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll stop settling for the idea of a franchise player and start demanding the reality of one. Maybe the best move isn't to import a new cast for a role that still hasn't been earned. Maybe the best move is to recast the lead, because there's a difference between star power and star work, between quotes and culture, between asking for greatness and accepting the work it requires. Right now, in Indiana, that difference is filling buildings and winning nights. In Chicago, it's filling columns and losing trust. So where do you land? Is Angel Reese the centerpiece Chicago should keep betting on, or is it time for the Sky to move on and rebuild the right way? And how much does leadership, on the court, on the bench, and in the mic, matter to you when you call a player franchise? Sound off below. If you're Team Clark or Team Reese, tell us why. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next.